Welcome back to another episode of Gotta Go, Gotta Go.
She's determined to get the jingle in at some point.
This week we are talking about...
What are we talking about, Molly?
Me.
Little old me.
Little old me.
We are. We're going to do an episode all about you.
It might be our best episode yet. Who knows? I'll be so offended if people skip right now.
Where did you come from? Who are your parents?
Wow, we're going
right back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So mum and dad, so it was quite cute. They met because mum was the local teacher in this small town in Tasmania and dad was the local vet. It does sound like the start of a little TV show, doesn't it?
It does, a little rom-com.
They were in a play and that's
in a musical
where,
theatre production. Yeah.
I know, which explains a little bit of our extrovertedness. You came along and then me and my twin, Rihanna, came along.
So you've been a twin all your life, obviously.
I have been.
How's that been?
I quite like it. I mean, you've always got someone there for you. That's why I'm so needy, because I've just had someone there for me the whole time.
I remember when you guys were learning to drive in high school, you were like a lot of things in your life, you divided and conquered. You're like, yeah. I got the license, I'll drive, you do the directions.
I was practical. I'm like, I've got the license, and Rihanna was really good at directions. She was like, I've got the directions.
Yeah. Back in the days when we had a refedex and no GPS, nightmare.
Refedex. That word always gets me.
Well, it was pretty dangerous times driving around with a refedex, but anyway.
I think I would have just been pulled over. I mean, to be fair, I think I would have still been lost if I didn't have a
I remember
GPS.
driving the streets and having the refedex on the wheel. It was like, to know where I was going.
Do you know what?
Dangerous.
I think when I got my license, GPS had come in, and that just shows how much younger I am than you.
Yeah, that 20 months, that's leaps and bounds in that time. But anyway, how would you describe yourself as a kid? Because I know how to describe you, but I'd like to hear your take on it.
I mean, obviously I'm only going to say good things, but I'd like to hear your take first.
I'm adorable. An incredibly cute, squeaky little voice. It was very high-pitched. You'd be like, whiny.
Oh, yeah.
You're quite theatrical, quite dramatic.
What? Me?
People would say you were quite cheeky. Mum said literally from 18 months of age, you'd have 3 outfits planned out for the day. You'd go back into your room, get things out. You had a very set sense of style from a young age.
Fashion. Do you remember my pink spider pants?
I do.
Oh,
yeah.
Dreamy.
I was not a stylish kid. But when we look back on photos, we all look equally bad as each other. But you look very of the time.
Yes.
Bad.
Yeah, I was classic. What's it called? Classic, following the fashion trend.
Oh, yeah. There wasn't a trend I feel like you didn't jump on at some point or try to jump on.
Yeah.
Do you remember I went on a trip to Africa. I sent you and Rihanna this amazing photo of me literally beside a leopard. And the only thing you guys replied was, we have to talk about the 3/4 cargo pants.
Oh, my God.
No.
Yes.
Hi, guys. I'm here with a leopard.
You were way too old to be wearing 3/4 cargo
I was
pants.
25. You wanted to be a famous actress, I feel like, from a young age.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you wish that you'd had a pushy stage mum. You really wanted a pushy stage mum. And mum was just not about it. She was not into it.
I would have to literally be like, Mum, can you please drive me to this audition?
I feel like you always had some new thing that you were on. Do you remember when you just decided that you had to have a pet goat? You really wanted a pet goat.
Oh my God.
God knows
Lulu.
why.
Okay, I'll tell you why.
Lulu.
Somehow this old lady had a goat and she was too old to look after the goat. And I was like, love a goat. I think I'd like a goat. I think I'd be a great goat owner. And Lulu was a psycho.
She was a psychopath. Yeah.
And
she just tried to kill you every day, basically.
Every time I'd go out to her, she'd just try and buck me with her horns. So what I'd do is I'd get the hay, I'd creep up while she's in her little house. I'd throw the hay and run away.
She was on a chain, we have to mention as well, because she was so violent, this goat. She'd just charge at you. So she'd charge at you, wouldn't she, until the rope rang out.
I had these images of me with my goat, patting my goat, laying on my goat, and this goat. But remember how the goat hated the pony, which hated the dog? Because we lived on acreage. And I remember once I got caught in the middle of it and the dog was barking at the pony. The pony was trying to kick the dog and then the goat was trying to buck them both. And I was in the middle and I was like, oh my God.
It was the best. She was a nightmare and she just ate everything. Just don't get a pet goat. They're the worst.
Unless you don't want to have any garden.
But for a bit of context, all of these animals, it's because we grew up in a family vet practice, didn't we?
Yeah.
That makes it sound like we were literally in the vet practice.
I remember when I was traveling in the UK and people would be like, you're Australian. Did you have a kangaroo growing up? And I was like, actually I did. But
you're we had everything.
Yeah, we had that little wallaby for a period of time.
Her name was Christmas because she got
We found her at Christmas time.
Found her on Christmas time. Yeah, her mum had been run over, and so we were just forever, weren't we? Like going to the surgery and being like, "Mum, Dad, can we keep it?" Like just some random stray anything. It's how we got most of the pets in our life.
Yeah, good times.
And anyway, it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed growing up in a vet practice. I don't know if you loved it sometimes. Hey?
Yeah, it was pretty gross. Yeah. Andy the dog. Remember Andy?
We're not
going to talk about
Andy,
because I still gag.
Still haunts me in my nightmares. There was this dog called Andy that just permanently lived at the surgery. Because tell why? Like what was?
Well, I think the owner was
a condition.
Very old, and so she'd come in on the weekends, but it had like a saliva issue. And anyway, I'm not going to go there because I will literally gag.
Come on, you have to. I just need to give a bit of context. This poor dog had a saliva issue where it was just constantly drenched in its own saliva, and we'd have to take it for walks. But do you remember it would like shake and go all over us, and like every day someone would come home and be like, "I had to walk Andy today." Anyway, rest in peace, Andy.
R.I.P. Andy.
R.I.P. Andy. So our parents were quite adventurous and pulled us out of school in you were in grade 4?
Yeah.
I was in grade 6?
Yeah.
Mum was just like, I remember her being like, we're doing too many activities. Why don't we drop school? When we were all like, yes.
Oh, she also said never let school get in the way of a good education.
Which is a great motto. She was a primary school teacher, so she had a bit of an advantage there. But she was like, let's take you out of school for a year. And for a couple of months we travelled.
Yeah, travelled the world, and we'd do like a few hours of schoolwork each morning. And I always had a few learning issues. And so I was actually a little bit behind in class. But by the time we came back, we had all those amazing experiences, got to travel all through like America and Europe. By the time I got back to grade 5, I was actually in front of where I should have been.
That was such fun. I loved that trip. Do you remember Mum and Dad made us take our violins? Like we took 3 violins traveling around the world with us.
Do you know what I remember?
I told Mum that the other day and she's like, I was a bit mad, wasn't I?
And also I remember it was back in the day where Dad made like a gun joke about the violins on a plane.
Oh yeah, he's like, oh, just put the machine gun up the top here.
Yeah, and like if you made that joke now, you'd be kicked off the plane.
Yeah, it was a different time.
It was a different era, and you could actually go see the pilots as well.
Yeah, they let you sit at the front. And we got that RV motorhome. We drove it all around America, which we just thought was the funnest thing ever. Growing up, you were very entrepreneurial.
Oh,
like you're an entrepreneur now, but like I remember all your different schemes when you were growing up. There was always something going on. I don't know if
I'd use the term schemes. I'd say like forward-thinking business plans.
Tell our listeners about one of your early ventures.
Oh, well, I had many, but one that comes to mind was my massage parlour. So when we were traveling around America in an RV motorhome, I would set up, there was a bed in the back, so I'd set it up all nice. I'd play some nice music. Then I would let you play my Game Boy because I was the only one with a Game Boy.
You knew how desperate we were to have a go on your Game Boy.
5 minutes. And then I'd give you a massage for 5 minutes.
It was not 5 minutes, the Game Boy use. You were like, I remember it was like 60 seconds and you had a timer and you would time it and then you'd like yank it from our hands.
Again,
as soon as it was up, you're like, it's up. These batteries are expensive.
Yeah, so I had the Game Boy because I asked for it for Christmas and birthday present because my birthday's in January. Combined. So I was like, combine it.
Smart. Strategic.
Yep.
And she's like, this is my first asset, revenue generating asset.
It was a little bit better than the doll that you push the chin and be like, Mommy, I love you. Let's play.
That was so
and it would like
weird, that doll.
It would like go to the toilet.
Yeah. I'm like, why
and I would have to change its nappy.
You want in a doll? It shits.
And now all I do is change nappies. And I'm like, well, I got good practice.
Yeah. Well, that was setting me up for a life of fun. You used to do it as a game and now you like have to do it.
Yeah.
When you finished school, you went on a gap year. We both did a gap year at different times. Where did you go?
I went to Scotland.
Scotland?
In the middle of nowhere in Scotland. Even Scottish people
I feel like
haven't heard of it.
You had visions of being in London, didn't you? Like, I'm going to be in the middle of London, travel to Europe, and you ended up in like the middle of Scotland in the Highlands.
I loved it in the end. It was great. It had an all year round Christmas shop, which I was always amazed at how many people were in it. And then like lots of pubs like any kind of Scottish town. And that was really it.
Creef.
Yeah.
And what was their claim to fame? Ewan McGregor.
Oh, Ewan McGregor was born there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then you came back, did some uni.
Yep. Drank way too much, partied way too hard.
Yeah, you did. Made
Spent
some great
all
friends.
my money.
I was doing film school at that point.
Yeah.
Like I'd write an idea or I'd have a little short film and you'd be like, I should be in that. I should be your lead character. Yeah. You should put me in it. And inevitably you would end up in it because didn't have anyone else. And including the Treehouse Kids TV show.
Yes. So we were best friends and sisters.
We said that, didn't we?
Yeah.
We're sisters and best friends.
And we did the magical Treehouse, which you wrote, directed, which was very cool. You did all the things. I don't know how and you acted in it as well.
Yeah, with some other
overachieving
friends.
sister.
But
hard to keep up.
Remember we had those really creepy animals in it, the giant like kangaroo and koala. And everyone
But
was
the
like,
music's really good. We should definitely put a clip where people can listen to the tunes.
yeah, well, you know, Stoney, my uni mate who helped us do the music, he now like is a proper music manager, like manages Lime Cordiale.
Of course he was, Brandy. We were like proper.
Yeah, we were
talent.
we could have been on Play School one day. Who knows?
Hello there, I'm Bryony. And this is my sister Molly. Hello. And we live here in the treehouse.
A friend is always there.
A friend will always care.
When you're feeling down, a friend will turn it around. A friend will be...
Oh, and at that time you were working for me, actually. You became my number one employee at my speech and drama school.
Yes, I think you employed me the day I was definitely about to get fired from my coffee job for rocking up hungover all the time.
And you also, no offense, you made the worst coffees.
I'd be like, can I have a piccolo? And I'd be like, which one's that?
I know. I'm pretty sure I asked for a flat white one day and you're like, what's that?
No,
I'm like,
Brandy, I know what a flat white
okay,
is.
but
Come
like-
on. This is where I got into some really bad financial habits and I would just spend absolutely everything that I had.
Yeah, I know, because you'd come to me every week and be like, can I have some money?
And then I started working for you and I'd be like, can I have my paycheck in advance?
Yeah, yeah. You came and worked as a speech and drama teacher in my little business,
Yes.
and you'd be like, "Can you pay me for the next 8 weeks today?"
You exaggerate. I said like the week.
No,
you always do this. You always exaggerate stories. And I'm like, it didn't even make it better. It just makes it unrealistic. I would say,
You
can
would
I
ask
have...
for advance pay.
Yes.
Is what I'm
yeah,
saying.
but not like 8 weeks in advance. I'd ask for like a week in advance.
Anyway.
And
Until
then-
I cut you off one day, didn't
Yeah,
I?
you
I
said.
was like,
Do you remember you said the Bank of Brownie is now closed? We don't
we
like
don't
bad
work with bad
debtors.
debtors.
And I was like,
Fair.
fair. And that was the start of when things started turning around, which is actually interesting because I actually say this to people when it comes to money, like, you know, by you giving money to friends or to your siblings, you're actually just enabling that bad habit. You need to cut them off.
Even no matter how much they're like, please help me, I'm poor.
I'm poor.
And then you moved to, well, you got a job at a bank actually, didn't you? You started working at the Bank of Queensland.
Which is so funny because I was still really useless with money and I was working for a bank.
Yeah.
The first bank I worked for. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it goes to show, doesn't it? Like doesn't mean you've got good financial habits just because you're
absolutely
working.
not.
Or even if you've got a really good job and you're being paid really well.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean anything, does it?
No, it does not.
As you always say, it's not what you earn. It's what you save.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's all about behavior and discipline, not how much you earn.
Yeah. And so then you went to London.
It's probably the first time I ever had actually managed to save money because I had a goal. There's a bit of a learning there. Have a goal. So I saved some money and then I moved over to London. I had enough work experience that I knew I could get a job. Yeah, and then I lived in London for like 6.5 years.
And then I feel like one by one, did your girlfriends just come over or were they there? Or you ended up with this giant posse
Yeah, it was
of
so
beautiful
much
friends.
fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
So instead of like, I would just like do so much travel and just like have the best time. Lots of pub crawls, you know.
You
my
did
style.
so much travel and you went to really random places too, like
Lithuania.
Yeah. So anyway, you had an amazing time in London. Loved it. You were also working in finance there?
Yeah, well,
I'd
I'd try to work for a charity for a little bit and was like, oh, this does not pay very well. I'm going to find other ways to be charitable. So I'd run like charity events on the side. But yes, and I started working for a bank. And that's probably where Ladies Finance Club started because I was like, God, I am bad with money. A lot of the women I work with was so bad with money. I remember having this conversation with this girl called Sarah. She won't ever listen to this, but anyway. And she's like, I got a bonus. I'm going to buy a handbag. And I just remember being like, do you have like property or investments? And she's like, no. I'm like, this doesn't seem right. And like, I remember being on a date with a guy called Pete. He was a nice guy, but like he was buying his second property. And I was like, what? Like,
what's the gap here?
What's the gap here? We're similar age. And you're about to buy your second investment property and I am struggling to pay rent.
And Zara's buying an investment handbag.
Handbag, which was not an investment. But yeah, and that's where I first started going, okay, there's something not right here.
But it's so interesting. I'm interested, like, how did you go from that being like, well, that doesn't seem very good and all my girlfriends are useless with money to being like, I'm going to do something about this?
Well, I knew I didn't always want to work 9 to 5. I didn't want to be like on that commute, because the commute in London, it was like
Grum,
very grim. You'd be so tired, like squished in like sardines. And I'm like, there's a way to make you not want to work 9 to 5. That's it.
It's all very well and good to be like, women are bad at money and my friends are bad at money. But then you actually went in, like, you had a real moment that was your turning point, though. That was kind of your breaking point.
Oh, yeah.
I remember.
Yeah, I was in Sainsbury's, which is like UK Woolworths. Well, Australian Woolworths. And I literally had just run out of money because I'd spent it all like having fun on the weekends, been traveling.
Bank of Bryony was closed at this point, so
she
that wasn't an option.
She was too hard to reach in London. And I had to text my girlfriend and be like, hey, can you send me some money? And I was working like earning like decent enough money, but I was completely mismanaging it. And that was like my rock bottom moment. And the fact that I was working for a bank as well just made it all that bit more
like,
embarrassing.
I'm crying in the supermarket because I can't afford a bloody jar of jam.
Yeah. And so that was like the turning point where I was like, I need to do something about this. And I think I'd read The Barefoot Investor at the time. And I was like,
love him.
wow, this is actually really easy once someone explains it to you really clearly.
Yeah.
And so I started, instead of having a book club with my girlfriends, I was like, let's do a money club. So we'd get a friend who worked in finance to come to us. We'd do Prosecco, pizzas, because we couldn't afford champagne. And we'd talk about money and how to grow money. And then what I noticed was I'd put it out there in a Facebook group to my friends, and so many of them were like, oh, I want to come to that thing. I missed it. Are you doing another one? Are you doing another one? I'm so bad with money. I just kept hearing this over and over again. I'm so bad with money. Oh, I'm so bad with my finances. I have no idea where my money's going. I'm just spending everything I earn.
We didn't get that class at school, right?
No, we never got taught how to manage money, which it is changing, but not kind of fast enough. But anyway, so fast forward to there when I was like, oh, just wait, I know how to run events. I've got the skill set.
Yeah, so I remember about this time I came to London.
Yeah.
And you were hosting one of these events. You just started the business.
Yeah.
And I came along and I remember just being like blown away. There were like 120 women in the room. It was packed.
Yeah.
But the energy and the interest,
Yes.
like you could hear a pin drop. Women were like, give me this information.
They're
and that's
so hungry for the information.
That's when I was like, you're really onto
'Cause
something
we've
here.
always been taught that like women don't want to talk about money. I'm like, women want to talk about money when they're given the opportunity and they're given the content and the information.
Yeah, totally. And so often women become really like the financial kind of controller of the family, don't they? But you see the whole spectrum. You see women that...
Yeah, they might be the financial controller, but they generally don't make those bigger financial decisions. I found like that my purpose was like, oh, wow, this is something that I really care about, is to give women control over their lives, and that's what money gives you. It's so funny because then I did a book a few years later. A friend of mine was like laughing when I told him. I was like, oh, I'm writing a book on finance. He's like, what, you? And I was like, I know.
Yeah.
I got better at it. And that's what I like to say to people, like, it doesn't matter where you're starting. I was crying in a supermarket because I couldn't afford jam. And now I have 2 investment properties. I have a topped up super fund. Like when I moved back from London, I had $20,000 in my super fund. I now just hit 180,000.
That's amazing.
I pay myself a very modest salary and I did it all by myself. For my first property, I had my parents as guarantors because, hey, we're calling out like, how did we do it? So I only needed a 10% deposit, which was about 60,000.
You went from having no money, no savings, no share portfolio, no wealth that you'd inherited, and building it up
and
yourself.
I think, and also to be transparent, something that really helped me as well was I found myself a really well-paying job in London. And so I worked 3 days a week in this really high-paying job, and it meant that I could then start my business and be paid well as well. But I was just an event manager.
Because you were for ages though, weren't you? You were sort of dabbling where you were dabbling between jobs and trying to start things on the side.
Yeah.
And I remember that being quite a stressful period though as well. Like let's not glaze over it wasn't just like you were like, and then I had a business. It was
even
stressful.
Starting Ladies Finance Club, it gave me so much anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah, I lived with you during that time. It was a wild ride.
Fun, hey? But yeah, no, it totally gave me a lot of anxiety, and that I had to deal with that anxiety. And then I realized as a business owner, that anxiety will never go away. So I just needed to manage it better. So they will never go away.
I'm remembering a fight we had when we were living together, and I was like,
dear.
if your business was your boyfriend, I would hate your boyfriend. I was just trying to be like, it's taking all the fun away, and like you're just talking about your business all the time. And I was just
I
so
remember
over it.
you like you said like, okay, after 6 p.m. you can't talk about your business anymore. But I was just so focused on it, and I would spend like every waking minute on it.
Not that I wasn't supportive also, but
you were
it
very
came to a
supportive.
point where I was like, all we talk about is
And it also sucked
how
the fun out
stressed
of
you are
me.
by your business.
It sucked the fun out of me, and I felt such responsibility because I was teaching women how to manage money, and it was so important that I did this that I kind of just became way too fixated on it.
Yeah, and you were trying to work out how to make money from it though
Yes.
as well. Like it was like,
Yeah.
can I even make money? But I'm making this leap out of work, so it was stressful and hard.
Yeah.
Anyway, like I said, I was living with you during that time.
Thanks
but
for
hey, you got
remembering
me
those
through
moments,
cancer.
Bri.
I wasn't. You know,
Thanks for remembering the good times.
I wasn't at my best during that time, and you stuck it out. I suppose that's what you do. Family, sisters.
Yeah. But I remember living together, we were both kind of going through like high patches and low patches. And we were
Mainly
just like,
low, let's be honest, during that
And-
time, weren't we?
Yeah, you had chronic
were-
fatigue. I was just moved back. I knew no one. And
We were both sad
We were both
sacks.
sad sacks. Remember we used to go down to the
Felt like
coffee
I had no
shop?
friends were like, when will we ever meet anyone? Oh my God, dating such a
Yeah.
dating in Sydney was demoralizing.
Yeah, we were just like, we were like trying to snap out of it all the time. We're
Yeah.
like, let's play music. Let's make a TikTok. Who would have thought like when you look back on those moments when we were like so low, and now where we have like families where
Yeah.
hopefully happy. I'm like, I've got 3 hours of sleep on me.
I remember at the time you saying you need to write a book about getting through this
Because like just those days or weeks where just everything feels down and hard.
and miserable and like a slog.
Yeah.
I feel like we lived in different places, share houses, and then COVID happened and we moved home, didn't
Yeah.
we? Just the two of us.
Yeah, with mum and dad.
We packed up our apartment like overnight and like made it to the border. We're like, we're going to go home to mum and dad.
Yeah, we did. And we lived at home for like, God, a year.
It was like a year in the end because like lockdown just went on and on and on.
We'd like do drinks in the afternoon. We'd do quiz.
And remember we were like trying to do like online dating during that time. Like we'd be on the
Oh, my
Tinder and
God.
that. Remember we got here and I face matched with that guy with like full face tattoos and I was like, oh my gosh.
Remember you went on that tennis date with that like very good looking but dumb guy?
Yes, that's right. We went on this date. Well, when I say we, because you came on the date.
Did I?
Yeah, don't you
I
remember?
crashed a lot of your dates.
You used to do this as a thing. It was a bit weird. You'd turn up looking absolutely smoking hot.
Bro,
and
that's
I'm
just how I looked.
I just look that good. You'd be like, can I come at the end? Because I don't have anything to do. I'm like, okay.
I've got no friends.
So you'd come at the end, but then you'd be like bathing, your makeup looking perfect. And I was like, oh, could you just like not look quite
No,
that
but
good?
I do remember I dropped you off at one date and then you went for a beach walk and I was walking past you.
Oh, and I wanted Mayday out of it. And I was like, oh, hi. Yeah, you got to go now? You want me to go? Okay. Yeah,
See,
we'll
I was
go.
your wingwoman.
Yeah, it was good for
I
that.
was just checking that you were okay.
Yeah, no, I remember that when you came on, you turned up to the squash court because randomly we love squash.
Yeah. I'll bring her in. It's okay.
So we're joined by our third podcast host, Marley May. Is in the
Marley,
room.
say hi. Too busy drinking.
I'm just guzzling over here. I'm addicted to
This
the
stuff's
stuff.
good. I'm in my milkmaid outfit just to go.
Because you are a milkmaid right now.
Yeah.
You do hit that point when you're breastfeeding. You're like, oh, I basically am a cow right now. Human milk. There's a black market for that stuff. But anyway, there is. It's random. Like, gym buffs are apparently like trying to buy breast milk. If you wanted to be on the black market, you could sell that delicious milk.
Call me.
Call Molly. She's very entrepreneurial. She's got a little side business. Molly's milk. Molly the milkmaid. Some people have OnlyFans. Molly's selling her breast milk. She's not. She's not. Yeah, but remember that date you came and crashed because you were like, why don't I just join you at the end of the date? I'm like, sure, if you want. And but it was, to be fair to you, it was a bit of a backup insurance if like the date didn't go well. You could
Or if
rescue
they were
me
a
from it.
psychopath.
Yeah, but you turned up to that one and I remember you coming up to me. He went to the bathroom and you're like, he looks like a Disney prince. I was like, he really does.
But he was not smart.
Wasn't the smartest, but he was very pretty. Anyway, we didn't get married. Thank God.
He's not your now husband. That would be rude.
Anyway, anyone else take their sister on their dates?
I reckon people do take their sisters on
I
their
don't reckon
dates.
they do. I don't reckon they do.
Do you ever come on mine?
No.
No.
Now here you are breastfeeding your baby because you met the lovely Vinny in Sydney in your Bondi era.
Yes, I never thought I'd meet a Tanzanian at a bar in Bondi, but I did. I met the only Tanzanian in Bondi.
Is he?
Yes.
Does he know that for sure?
Yes, there's no other Tanzanians in Bondi.
Yeah,
Is
right.
it?
Wow.
Well,
That
not
is-
anymore because now we're on the Gold Coast.
Yeah, yeah.
It's probably the only Gold Coast
There's an
Tanzanian
opening.
on the Gold
if you're
Coast.
Tanzanian, Bondi needs one. So sign up. Anyway, anything else you want to share about you and your life, Molly? And
No, I just feel like though, you know, when you say it like that, you're like, oh, I've done lots, but there's still so much more I want to do.
the rest is still unwritten, as they say.
The rest is still unwritten.
I just feel like we've had lots of fun schemes over the years, be it like starting businesses
I
together.
think you've got to
TikTok
stop
and
calling them schemes. They sound dodgy.
our dodgy little schemes.
Red flag.
But it's really fun to now both be here on the Gold Coast and, you know, working out this whole motherhood thing.
Oh, what's got to go, Bri?
Don't know. Maybe you go first. I don't know.
What's got to go is, you know, when you go to bathrooms
Yeah.
at hotels and airports and they're censored and the sensor never works.
Yeah.
That's got to go. Just put a tap on it.
Oh, yeah, true. Got to go. So Mother's Day is coming up. Last year, my beautiful husband, love my life, Divine, but he had two faux pas. One was he goes, oh yeah, what date's Mother's Day? I'm like, that's a you job. I was thinking we go to like a wildlife park for the day with the boys, and I was like, yeah. I love my children so much. What I would really like for Mother's Day is to not see them. I want to go get a massage, chill out, have some time out. So that's actually, I think, what most mums actually want on Mother's Day is to have the day off.
I saw something which was funny, but it's a bit rude. This one lady was like, I don't want to deal with anyone who came out of me or came in me.
Mum, I hope you're not listening to that part of the podcast. Having to organise your own Mother's Day, that's got to go. Looks like you've probably got to go and
I think I've got to go.
sort out your little needy customer there.
Yeah, got to go.